So, hi everyone. My name is Taylor Cello. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the GSERA president tonight. That's going to be, in a way, co-hosting with our speaker this evening, who's going to tell us all about Zotero, which is a really helpful tool that all of us can use to organize, cite, and write with ease when it comes to conducting research, looking deeply at the scholarship, and citing it properly. And so, we are so grateful to have Brooke Williams here tonight from Northeastern's library team. She's going to impart all of her wisdom on Zotero with us. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to her. But feel free, of course, to put any questions in the chat. We'll be happy to address them towards the very end. And without further ado, Brooke, feel free to take it away.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. Um, Good evening, everyone. As Taylor mentioned, my name is Brooke Williams. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I am the Research and Student Success Librarian based at Snell Library in the Boston campus of Northeastern, but I work with students at all of our global campuses. As part of that role, I'm also the head of our citation management team. So if you have questions about Zotero or another citation manager after this session tonight, you're welcome to reach out to me. My email address will be on the last slide, but I can also put it in chat now. And I'll also show you some other ways to get help as well. So tonight's session is getting started with Zotero. That link up there is to our citations and bibliographies guide, and I'm going to quickly show you what that looks like. Oops, okay. So this is our citations and bibliographies guide. If you haven't been on this page before, this has links to all of the style guides that are most frequently used within Northeastern. So we've got APA up here, MLA, IEEE, which is an engineering style, a few others down here with links to where they're available online, or if they're available, at the reference desk at Snell Library, we have that as well. We also have our spring webinar series. So obviously you all are getting an intro to Zotero tonight, but if there's another citation manager that you're interested in, we are running workshops this week and next week on the different citation managers that are supported by the library. And here I also want to point out, you can always make an appointment with a member of the citation management team. So there are a number of us. There are 6 of us, actually 7, but one person is not on this list. So if you need help getting started or figuring out how to use something or troubleshooting something, you can make an appointment with one of us. You can always choose, the next available appointment, or because you've now met me and you want to work with me, you are welcome to make an appointment with me as well. So that's another way to get help after this session. And then, of course, back here up at the top, we do have a little guide for Zotero. So how to download it, how to install, getting started, using it with both Microsoft Word and Google Docs, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and then some recorded webinars. So if you, want to rewatch a webinar about Zotero, we have one that's a couple of years old, but everything still, is true within it. So it's another in-depth introduction. So if you missed something in this session, you're welcome to check that out. So going back to my slides here. So, scope of tonight's workshop. So we're going to talk about what a citation manager is and what it can do for you. A lot of you sound like you might already be familiar with it, but just in case for those who are new to citation management, talk a little bit about Zotero specifically, so why you might want to use it, give you an orientation to how it works, and then I'll show you how to capture references and add them to your Zotero library. And then we'll demonstrate how to cite your references in Microsoft Word and in Google Docs. So Zotero does work with both of those word processors. So if you use Google a lot, if you're doing a lot of work, in groups or partners, and you like to share things easily, that might be a good option for you. It's also obviously works with Microsoft Word. So if you haven't used a citation manager before, these are little pieces of software that can help you easily collect, store, and organize your references. So they're super helpful if you're doing any sort of work that involves a lot of research and writing. So I imagine some of you working on your thesis right now might be doing some of that. So it makes it easy to collect and store those references, organize them by chapter, by topic, however makes sense to you. And then it also allows you to really quickly generate citations and bibliographies in as you're writing. So if you're, again, working in a word processor, as you're going along, you can add those in-text citations, you can edit them later, add your bibliography, change formats if you want to. So Zotero is really good at that. So why Zotero? I personally find Zotero one of the most user-friendly of all of the citation managers that we support. I'm the most familiar with it as well. But it is free to download and use online, and it does not require you to be connected to your Northeastern email or your Northeastern account. So it's not, we don't have an institutional subscription to Zotero. So after you graduate, or if you're working with folks who are outside of Northeastern, Zotero is a great option, so that you have those citations waiting for you as you continue on to your next job or next, field of study or whatever you're doing next. Again, it connects to both Microsoft Word and Google Docs, so it's easy to cite your sources while you're writing. It allows you to quickly save references with its browser plugin, which I find super useful, and allows you to share references with other users as well. So as you are, again, if you're working with someone outside of the university or you're working in groups or something like that, you can have shared group libraries where you can all sort of deposit different references or articles, books, things that you've come across in your research. So a couple of things to keep in mind. So free accounts to Zotero are limited to 300 megabytes of storage. It's a pretty generous amount. I haven't run into anyone who has hit that limit. You can pay for more storage. There's a paid subscription model that you can use. And Zotero, the program does not work on Chromebooks, but the web version of Zotero does. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so I'm going to jump out of my slides here. Check the chat just to make sure I'm not seeing any questions before we get started. Okay, great. Okay, so let's talk about what Zotero actually looks like. So this is my Zotero library. And as you can see on the left here, I have different folders. These are things from presentations that I've done or papers that I've written or different sort of topics that I'm interested in. I also have a folder here of just things that I want to read, later on. So I can organize things into those different folders. I also have some shared group libraries. So these are projects or libraries that I've shared with other staff or other, with colleagues. So I can make it, available for anyone to add things, remove things, or I can sort of change the permissions on that. Looking at my actual library, here we have this is my full library, so we're seeing all of the different articles, books, news articles, things that I've added to my Zotero library. I think I even have some like videos in here. So this is showing me right now, it's showing me alphabetically by creator, so the author or the video content creator, whoever. I can also sort by year, by publisher, whatever makes sense to me. And then if I click on one of these articles, you'll see on the side here, this is what we call the metadata for the article. So that's everything like what type of material it is, the title, the authors, publication, publisher, date, all of that stuff that is going to make up your citation. So you want to make sure that this information is correct, within Zotero, so that later on, when you're creating your citation, you're getting the correct citation for something. All of this is editable. So if I realize that there's a misspelling or something weird, so sometimes you'll notice in a database, like an article will have a title all in caps for some reason. It's just how it came into the database because it was scanned that way. You can correct that here and again make sure that this information is correct. And then you'll also notice all of these here under this little paperclip. Most of them have a little PDF symbol, or some of them have what's called a snapshot in Zotero. So this is a Washington Post article that I was looking at. Zotero just saved a copy of this article locally so that when I'm citing this article, if I want to get back to it, I am seeing the version of the article that I was looking at the time that I was reading it. So if, the Washington Post has gone back and edited things or changed things since December 9th, 2020, which they may have done. I've still got this archived copy on my computer, so I can still quote it and say, this is the version that I was looking at. For the PDFs, it's going to open up right in Zotero if you double click. And here we have the full text of this article, all of that stuff that you're going to see within the journal. Zotero does allow you to make some notes. So you have up here this little sort of sticky note function. So if you want to add a comment, if you want to add a tag, so like this section is really useful for this part of my paper or something like that, you can do that. You can also type right within it if you want to say like, this is really important or something like that. If you want to highlight, you can do that as well. So if you wanted to say like highlight a quote that you're going to take, and use in your paper. So Zotero does allow you to make all different types of annotations within the paper. You can even, with this little pen, you can even sort of draw or write, if that's something that you find useful, maybe if you're using it on like a tablet or something like that. So those are Zotero's little annotation character or annotation features. Again, we've got the metadata here on the side, and you can also, zoom in if you want to see it. You can search within the document. So if you're looking for a specific term or a specific quote or something like that. So it really does give you a lot of options to use the articles that you've saved. So I'm going to check the chat and see if um, any questions. So I see, can I speak to logging in limitations to avoid resetting progress? So Zotero does have an account feature. It's not required. Mostly it's used. So if you go to zotero.org, I'll log in with my account. Mostly the account makes it so that you're able to log in from another computer. So I hope that's my password. I haven't actually logged in for a while. Okay. So it's going to show you basically the same thing we were just looking at, but this is on the web. So this is going to allow me to access my Zotero library from any machine that I'm working on, even if I don't have Zotero installed. So in the past, I've had my computer has been, not working. And so I've borrowed my husband's computer and he doesn't have Zotero installed, but I'm still able to access my library if I need to, or if you have a computer at your office versus your home computer or something like that. This is also how you would access Zotero on a Chromebook. So you would still be able to access your library. You wouldn't be able to download the program, but it does give you a little bit more, a little bit of access, a little bit of flexibility. This is also where you would create Zotero groups. So Zotero has, if you want to create a new group, you would choose the name, choose what type of membership you would like. So who would you like to be able to edit or view, the library that you're creating. You can also search for groups. So if you're interested in, let's say, comic books, you can find, shared Zotero libraries where people have made lists of different types of books. And you can see, okay, let's see this one. If I wanted to join this group, I could see, these different children's books. So there is sort of a social media component to it, which is kind of interesting. But you can only create or edit your shared libraries or your group libraries on the Zotero website. Okay, other questions? Okay, I see someone says I've been collecting articles, studies, etc. in a folder on my desktop. Is there a way to select these to put into Zotero? Yes, there are. Yes, there is. And I can demonstrate that in just a second. So let's say I have this PDF from the National Library of Medicine. I want to download it. Actually want to save it to my computer. Okay, and I'm going to put it just on my desktop. So now from my desktop, just there, I can just drag this PDF into my Zotero. So here it is. I'm going to just drag it into my library. And it's just going to put this in here as a PDF, but then it's kind of reading it. You saw it started as just the file name, and now it's actually got the title. So Zotero has captured the metadata for this article. That really works best if it's a PDF that has been sort of coded with the correct metadata. If it's an older document, it might just show up with a file name, and you might need to go in and add in this what we call metadata. But Zotero, otherwise, if it's a newer PDF, it will just sort of read it for you. Another option is with Zotero, it has this little, well, let's talk quickly about how to get stuff into Zotero Library. So that was one way, just dragging and dropping. Another way is to do it manually. So if you have, for example, I'm just going to grab something off of my shelf here. Oof. Okay, so if you have a book, a physical book sitting in front of you, and you don't have a way to like drag and drop it into your library, you can always create a record manually. So I can just type in the title, the author, all of that information. Another maybe quicker way of getting things into your Zotero library is with this little magic wand. So this is where you can copy and paste or type in an ISBN, which is an International Standard Book Number. It's basically like a book's social security number, a DOI, a PubMed ID, archive ID, or a bib code to add to your library. So if I type in the ISBN for the book that I just pulled off my shelf behind me, see, hope I actually typed that in correctly. Hit enter. Zotero is going to think about it. And there it is. I just popped it right into my library. Obviously, it doesn't have a PDF or anything like that, but it was a lot faster than typing in all of this information myself. I just typed in that one little code from the back of the book. You can see there. And it just popped it into my library. So those are two ways of adding materials to your library. An easier way, if you're looking at something online, is to use what's called the Zotero Connector. So on the Zotero homepage, when you go to download Zotero, it's also going to suggest that you install the connector for your browser. So there's the Firefox connector is what it's suggesting because I'm looking at it on Firefox. It does also have connectors for Chrome, Edge. The Safari one is already bundled. So there are different options for different browsers. And this is going to make it really easy to add stuff to my library. So if I am looking at an article, let's say I'm looking at something in the library catalog or in one of our databases, so if I say like journalism and education or something like that, I can pull up one of these articles. This one, I'm just going to open the PDF. And the Zotero connector, oh, it's going to ask me to log in. There we go. And the Zotero connector is just a little button that lives in your browser. And you'll see up here at the top, right now it is this PDF symbol, the Adobe Acrobat symbol. If I mouse over it, it says Save to Zotero. If I just click this, it's going to think about it for a second, and it saved it to my library. If I go back to my library now, it is actually, I clicked that button twice, which I shouldn't have done. But it's going to highlight this article for me that I just dropped in. You'll see it also saved the PDF. So if I double click, I can open the PDF. This also works for things that are not within the library catalog. So for example, I've got this New York Times article here. And right now, if I mouse over that Zotero button, it's a little newspaper because it knows that I'm looking at the New York Times. So it's actually very cute. If I click that, I can even tell it where I want to save it. So if I wanted to save it to just my library versus one of my my groups or folders, I can do that. If I just click done, go back to Zotero and it's highlighting it for me, there is that newspaper article that I just saved. And it even works for, let's say, a YouTube video. So if I'm not logged into YouTube, so I have no idea what it's recommending me. So please don't, don't judge me based on this. Let's say I wanted to save, I don't know, this video about something. You'll see right now, if I mouse over Zotero, it looks like a little DVD player, I guess. So it knows that it's saving it as a video. And again, save it to my library. Um, Go back to Zotero, and it's highlighting my latest acquisition. So it works on all different types of materials, makes it super easy to add stuff to your Zotero library. I'm going to check the chat. Um, Okay, is there a way to restore articles? I seem to have lost some when I logged into an account and can't retrieve it. So if you mean things that you previously had in your Zotero library that have since been removed or deleted, um, I think the best way is just to add them back to your Zotero library. You can also try and see if they're saved on your web library, but they do sync together. Oops, that's not my library. They do sync together pretty frequently, so they might not still be there. If you, on the other hand, have, let's say, an article that you have not, you have the metadata, but you don't have the PDF, or you're missing some of the metadata, you can always Zotero will save a URL for that article, so you can always go find it. If it's something where you have just, um, you know, uh, let's say a file name or something like that, you can use this little magic wand to attach an ISBN, a DOI to that PDF. So if you just have a PDF that you came in and it's saved as just like document.pdf, you can always use this magic wand to try and find if you have the DOI or something like that to try to find that. There is also this find full text button for Zotero, so it will see if it can find the full text. I don't have that one on my computer, but if I did, it would be searching my computer to see if I have the full text. Okay, any other questions about saving things to your Zotero library? Um, Okay, it doesn't look like there's anything else about saving to the Zotero library right now, but of course, please feel free to drop questions in the chat. I'm going to move over to demonstrating what we actually do with the stuff once it's in our libraries. So I have a Word document open here. I'm writing a paper for a class. I need to cite several different types of sources, and I also need to include a bibliography. So when I downloaded Zotero, it automatically installed this little Zotero button in my Microsoft Word. If you don't have this in here, what you might want to do is go into Zotero, go to, I believe it is Preferences. Um, yeah, down here it has, reinstall the Microsoft Word or LibreOffice add-in. So if this one is not installed, but you would just say reinstall it. Once I have that in my Word document, if I click on it, it's going to give me these options here. So as I'm writing, let's say I have a citation here that I need to add. I just click on this Add or Edit Citation, and the first thing Zotero is going to do is ask me what citation style I want to use. So I'm going to say I want to use APA 7th. And click OK. If you don't see your citation style here, you can click on Manage Styles, and these are all of the ones available. You can also click on Get Additional Styles, and there are like 10,000 different styles. Every journal, every publisher has sort of its house style. So I'm sure you can find, whatever style you might be looking for. Going back to my document, if I click Add or Edit Citation, again, I'm going to choose APA. And the next thing Zotero is going to do is give me this little search bar. So it's showing me here what I already have selected. I can also type in here. So if I wanted to find, another article and I remember something about the title or the authors, I can do that. I can also click on this red Z, go to Classic View, and it's just going to show me everything that's in my library. So here I can actually say, okay, here's this book that I'm, wanting to cite. Click OK, and it dropped that in-text citation right into my paper. So I'll show that one more time. So add or edit citation. I'm going to go to classic view, and this time I'm actually going to select multiple articles. So let's say I wanted to cite this article as well as this article as well as this book. Hit enter, and it looks like maybe it only saved the first one. I'm not totally sure. Going to undo that actually. Remove that citation. Let's see if that can do that again. So it should be able to add or edit. Let's go back to classic view. Actually, let's just search for library. If I click, let's see, this one, and if I click this one, so we've got these three citations here, hit enter, and that time it did it. So that time it did cite all three of those different articles. So if this is like a long paragraph or a long sentence or something where I'm citing multiple different sources, I can add that here. I can also change this. The best way to change something is to actually go in and change it in your Zotero library. But for example, this one has no date, but if I do find the date and I realize it's 2006, I can also just change it right within my document. I'll add one more citation here. Let's add that article that I have highlighted. So now, oops, actually, I already had that one in here. I'll add one more citation. So you'll notice that Zotero is putting my citations wherever my cursor happens to be. So if the cursor is in the middle of a word, it's going to drop that citation right in the middle of that word, right? I don't want that. So make sure that your cursor is at the end of the sentence, wherever you want that in-text citation to go. But once I have my in-text citations ready, I can, I'm going to go down a little bit. I'm going to put bibliography, hit enter so that my cursor is in the right place. And then I'm going to hit add or edit bibliography. And it took a second, it just thought about it. And now you can see it's got all of those articles in my bibliography for me. So it's got author, title, date, all of that information. It also will update. So if let's say I'm adding a topic sentence and I have another citation that I add in. So if I say this author, drop that in, you'll see it added that article right there. So it's going to update as I go, which is really nice. One of the other really nice things about Zotero that is super helpful is that it will change your style for you if you realize that you are not using the correct style. So this is an APA 7th. Let's say I finish this paper, I'm going to submit it to a journal, and then I realize that that journal uses a totally different style. I can go to Document Preferences and I'm going to choose IEEE because it looks very different, so the change will be apparent. Hit Enter. And you'll see Zotero has gone ahead and totally changed both my in-text citations and my bibliography. You'll also notice it reordered the bibliography. So APA 7th, you cite everything in alphabetical order, whereas in IEEE you don't. I think these are in alphabetical order because I was going down the list. But if I added, something here at the beginning, let's see if I have an author with sort of a different last name, let's say Piper. It's going to add that at the top because in IEEE, you cite things in the order in which they appear. So it makes it really easy. Again, it's going to keep adding things as I add citations to my library or as I add them to my paper. It's going to keep them in the correct order. And if I go into Zotero and I update the metadata for one of these, I can just hit refresh and Zotero will update the bibliography to match that. So for example, there's this article where I didn't have the date added. If I went in and added the date of publication for this, Zotero would update that. So it makes it super easy. I'm going to look at the chat really quickly. Okay. So I see a question about Microsoft 365. That one I would have to get back to you on. I believe it works in Microsoft 365, but I really, I recommend generally using the desktop version of Microsoft Word. I think most citation managers tend to like that better because it's not cloud-based. But it does have, it should hopefully install automatically um, in your Microsoft Word, whether that's in 365 or the desktop version. I see a question, does it work with Google Docs as well? It does, and I will demonstrate that in just a moment. But first, I saw another question, how to create folders. So going back into Zotero, creating folders is pretty easy. There's just this little folder button up at the top. Zotero calls them collections, but I can create a folder. I can just put it in my library, or I can put it within one of my other folders. So I can have like my thesis folder and then like chapter one, chapter two, however makes sense. Um, but I'm just going to put this one in my library, and it just gives me this new folder, and then I just drag and drop things in. So let's say I want to save that one, this one. I just drag and drop. As I'm saving things to Zotero with the Zotero connector, I can also tell it to save it to specific folders. But now I have this, this workshop folder with these 3 articles, and I can also create a citation or bibliography just of these 3. So if I want to, I can highlight all of them, create a bibliography. It's going to ask me, what style. And then it's going to ask me how I want to save it. I'm going to save it, I can save it as a text file. And now when I open up my documents, there is my bibliography ready to add into my Word document or whatever else I might be using. So that is a quick look at how to create folders. Again, you can also have a folder or a subfolder within this folder. So I could say like chapter 1 and then have things organized in that way. So you could have different folders for each class and then subfolders for each assignment or whatever makes the most sense to you. Okay, the second thing I wanted to demonstrate was creating a Google Doc or using Zotero with Google Docs. So if I create just a fresh document, you'll see here I have Zotero, same just like in Word, I have Zotero installed. It doesn't have the same little graphics, little icons that it does in Word, but it has all of the same functionality. So let's say I'm paper for my class. Okay, so just like in Word, I'm going to put my cursor wherever I want my citation to go. Go up, click on Zotero, hit Add or Edit Citation. It's going to double check that as I'm logged into my account. Okay, okay, yep, continue. Nope, okay. Let me try that one more time now that I'm logged in. Nope, okay, continue. Okay, so it worked that time. It just had a little glitch. So again, just like in Word, it's going to ask me what style I want. Again, I'll choose AP 7th, and it's going to give me this little red search bar. I can also, again, click Classic View so I can actually see, within my different folders or within my library. Click OK. I want to cite one of those. So need to cite, okay, add or edit citation. So again, click Classic View. I can go into another citation there, and then do one more. I'm going to stay within this folder, hit that one. So now I've got my multiple citations here within my Google Doc. Going to create my little space for bibliography and hit Add or Edit Bibliography. That little red bar is just Zotero's like progress bar. And then you'll see it pops my bibliography right into my Google Doc. And again, just like in Word, I can edit my citations. I can edit them within Zotero and then refresh my document. And I can switch to a different style. So if I, again, wanted to go into IEEE, it's got that other style now generated. So it's got all of the same functionality, it's just within Google Docs instead of Microsoft Word. To install the Zotero Google Docs, there is on the Zotero website the within, I believe it's on documentation, Docs plugin. It's going to give you here's the Zotero with Google Docs sort of information, and that's going to give you the link to how you can use this for Google Docs and how you can install it. So it does give you up here at the top. Google Docs is provided by the Zotero Connector for Chrome, Firefox, Edge. So it gives you, information about how to install. Are there other questions about Zotero that I can answer?
I know I got one as a direct message,
Okay.
going back to the Microsoft 365 syncing up with Zotero from Sharon. And she said that she had downloaded, the plugin and Zotero and everything. And Zotero doesn't appear within the document in the top, like where she's
Okay.
on Microsoft Word. She was thinking about trying to download the desktop version to see if that would work. Do you think that would be
Yeah.
best?
Yeah, I think that would work best. Again, Microsoft 365 is a little bit funky because it's not like a real program that lives on your computer, so it's hard. So we've seen this with Zotero. We've also seen this with some of our other citation managers that they just don't want to connect to a cloud-based program. So if you can download, I know ITS has instructions on how to download the desktop version. That should let Zotero pop up in Microsoft Word.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions that I see for now.
Great. Um, I have one question for you all. Has anyone here, I know this has been sort of bigger in the ed program than in some other programs. Has anyone here been experimenting with Cite AI? Okay, I'm seeing some nods, I'm seeing some hands, I'm seeing a yes in the chat. Okay, so Zotero actually has a plugin for Cite that I do want to demonstrate because it is kind of cool. So if I go into my library, click on one of my articles here. I installed this earlier within my Cite AI account, I guess. You'll see this little blue S. This is Cite Smart Citations, which is kind of difficult to say. And if I click on this, it's going to give me a little report about this source. So how many articles Cite views as supporting this article, how many it views as contrasting, how many have cited this publication, and how many have just mentioned it. If I find another article, I can maybe try one that has a little bit more. This one has not been used at all. Let's see. So you'll see here it gives you different. Okay, so this one has a little bit more. So it gives you a little bit of a report on this article according to Cite. So you always want to double check that this is actually correct. I can also click on this View Cite Report, and for some reason it's opening up in my Chrome, okay, or in Opera. Let's see if I can actually get it to do that. Okay. So now if I click on this, it's going to bring me into Cite and it's going to show me it's more full report on this article. So who has cited this article, help me understand this report. If I go down, it's going to give me the free trial stuff. I'm not logged in to Cite through Northeastern right now, which I think is why it's giving me this. How many references, um, have been used by this publication. So it's giving me a little bit more information on sort of how this publication exists within the wider web of discourse on this topic. So it's kind of an interesting feature. It doesn't work again for every article. It depends on how many times that article has been cited. But it is kind of interesting to see, the Cite report on different articles within your Zotero library. I'm going to check the chat for any questions. If I already have articles saved in Cite, how to connect to Zotero. So I am not 100, I think within Cite. So if I go into Cite through the library, so that I'm logged in and it doesn't give me all of that upgrade stuff. Um, so if I do an article search in Cite like mental health, seems like it's gonna take its time. Okay, just thinking about it. I guess that was kind of a big topic that I gave it. There's a lot of information out there. Um, Once I have these references, I don't want that. Once I have these references generated on the side, which it should do hopefully soon, um, just like with any other article, so it doesn't look like it's going to give me those. So if I copy and paste, let's say, oops, okay. So if I go into one of these articles, just like in another, database, you have the Zotero connector up here, and it's this little paper because it knows that it's looking at a paper. And you can just click on that and it will save a snapshot of this article. It's not going to save the PDF because Cite doesn't have the PDF necessarily, or it doesn't have it loaded at this moment. You can save it to a different folder, or you can just save it to your library, hit done. And now when I go back into Zotero, there is that article that I just pulled from Cite, and it actually did save the PDF. I guess it loaded within in time. So just like in another database, you can save stuff to Zotero from your site if you just click into the PDF of one of your references. I also saw there was a question about organizing beyond folders. Yeah, so a lot of people like tags. So you can see here, I have not cleaned up my tags. I have like three different versions of the term academic libraries. But a lot of people do use this. And so then if you search for a specific tag or click on one of these, it's going to pull up, or click on multiple tags. It's going to pull up whatever you have tagged. Whatever is tagged within your library. So that's another way to organize. Um, it sort of depends on being good about organizing your tags. I'm not. I don't usually use them. I usually use folders. But let's say if I wanted to see, things about the 21st century um, addiction, yeah. Um, you can definitely use those. Make it sit, sort of a one-click way to see everything in your library that's tagged. Within folders, or within Zotero as well, you also have a few different built-in items. So you have your publications. So if you have your own work that you want to add here, and kind of keep track of within Zotero, it also will generate this little folder of duplicates. So if you've saved the same article a couple of times, it will appear here, and you can sort of remove those duplicates so that your library doesn't get all cluttered. And then this is your unfiled items. So everything that you have not put in a folder shows up here. So this is not your full library, but it is, everything that is in your library that has not otherwise gone into a folder. So those are some of the other ways to organize within Zotero. It doesn't have a ton of different features. Again, it's really tags and folders, but you can definitely create like many subfolders or subcollections if you really want to get very specific about what's in each folder. Okay. Um, Great. I don't see any other questions right now. Happy to give folks a chance to type, or if you're comfortable unmuting and asking a question, you're welcome to do so now. Oh, what are some cool tricks you wish students knew? I think the Zotero connector is one of the biggest ones. It just is so helpful to have just this one-click way to save stuff to your library. Back in the day, you had to like download a folder or download a file and then upload it into Zotero. So this makes it a lot faster to save things. You can also save multiple things at once. So you'll see Zotero just turned into a little folder up there. I'm looking at the library catalog. If I click on this, it's going to ask me to check which things I want to save into my library. I can select all of them or just a couple of them, hit OK, and it's going to save them to my library. And then if I go into Zotero, it can't highlight all of them, but I can find them within my library now. So that's really helpful if you have like a really good, a search in a database or in the library catalog that has given you a lot of relevant results and you want to save them somewhere. That makes it really easy with Zotero. Another nice trick again is that magic wand. I find this so helpful if I have a print book in front of me. I just can type in the ISBN and Zotero will find that edition of the book, and it makes it so much easier than typing everything in by hand. I think too, exploring the different types of items Zotero allows you to save. So a lot of us are mostly working with books or articles, but Zotero gives you a lot of different options here. So, if you have something pretty specific that you're trying to cite, sometimes Zotero can help you at least figure out what information you need. So, like for software, it's going to give me this specific information so I can figure out, okay, like how would I cite software? What might I need? And so that makes it a lot easier. I know those are sometimes a lot of the questions that we get at the library on the reference desk are like, what is this thing and how do I cite it? And so librarians are always happy to answer that question, but if you have at least a sense of what the thing might be, you can try putting it in Zotero and just seeing like, okay, what information is it asking me to provide here? Okay, another question, how does Zotero compare with Mendeley? Um, I they're pretty similar. So for folks who haven't used Mendeley, it's another citation manager. Yeah, they're pretty similar. I think I tend to use Zotero the most. I've just again have been using it the longest. But people also love Mendeley, and you'll see too. I mean, Mendeley also has. If I go to references, I guess I don't have it installed right now, but Mendeley does also have a reference generator within Microsoft Word. I don't believe Mendeley works with Google Docs. That might have changed since the last time that I used it. But that is one of the nice things about Zotero is that it offers plugins for a variety of different word processors. Zotero also has on the Zotero website if you go to the documentation, there is so much information here, and it's a lot of crowd-funded information. And it also has, I mean, because Zotero is open source, people are developing new like tools for it all the time. So I know there's like a plugin that allows you to add a Zotero library to your WordPress page. So if you have a website or a blog, it allows you to do that. It gives developers all of these tools, can translate into different languages or different types of citation styles. So there's a lot of customization available with Zotero if you want to dive into like some of the plugins that are available. See any questions? I see someone said, ooh, plugins. Um, great.
Sorry if you didn't catch this one, or maybe I didn't catch that you caught this one yet. But how does Zotero compare with Mendeley is something that Sharon had asked.
Yeah, so again, they're very similar. They have very similar interfaces. All of the citation managers kind of do the same things. I find Zotero very user-friendly. Again, I find the web library very easy to use. I would say Mendeley, if I go to it, Mendeley is an Elsevier product. So it is, I believe this is Elsevier, I'm guessing. So it is sort of it's built by a more by a corporation. It gives you a little bit more storage, but it also Zotero again, it's open source, and so a lot of people have customized it, or a lot of people have made different things for it. So. But you see, I mean, this is just a screenshot, but you can see that Mendeley looks very similar to Zotero. You've got your navigation on the side, your references in the middle, and then your metadata over here on the right. So it really is down to personal preference. I think the best thing that you can do is like pick a citation manager early on and stick with it. Makes it a lot easier to save your references all through your classes and your research. I saw some people mentioning like doing annotated bibliographies. So that makes it a lot easier if you have a citation manager that you feel comfortable with, you like the way that it looks, you think it's easy to use, it's easy to find the buttons that you're looking for, all of that sort of stuff. I think they're all pretty similar. I generally advise people against Zotero unless you're in the hard science, or sorry, against EndNote unless you're in the hard sciences because it is maybe a little bit trickier to use. It's a little bit more fiddly. But between Zotero and Mendeley, again, they're quite similar and they're both free to download as well.
Any other questions for Brooke, whether you want to plug them in the chat? or unmute.
Yes.
Microphone.
Sorry, I just saw Jennifer. I'm just going to grab a sip of water here.
Yeah.
I just saw Jennifer's question. Yes. So if you start using a citation manager and you don't like it, you can export your library. So within Zotero, it's under File, Export Library. You save it as a specific type of file. Typically, XML is what you might be looking for, or a CSV. Um, and then you can import it into another citation manager. So if you decide that you don't like the one that you started with, you find it too difficult to use, or you just, it doesn't work on your computer or something like that, you can always switch to another one. And that is a process that the citation management team can help with. Yeah, just in case you graduate and it doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah, so I should mention, so EndNote and RefWorks are two of the other citation managers that we support, and they both require institutional logins. You should have some alumni access, but if you don't, you can always, again, switch to a free and open source citation manager. While people are thinking of questions, I'm going to put my slides back up on the screen here. I'm at the bottom of the list because I'm alphabetical, but I made myself bold here because so that you can remember which one of these people taught this workshop. You're welcome to reach out to any of us with questions. If you feel most comfortable coming to me because now we've met, that's totally fine. You can always send me an email. But this is the citation management team. There are 7 of us, and so there's always someone who's available to help. And I should note too, Robert, who's in the middle of the list there, is based at our Oakland campus. So if you are on the West Coast, and that is a better, it's easier to make an appointment with someone who's in the same time zone. Robert might be your guy for that. All of the rest of us are based in Eastern time, but always happy to help.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brooke, for
Yeah,
imparting this wisdom. It seems like we got some really great feedback in the chat. Thank you for keeping up with our chat as well
yeah,
throughout it.
of course.
Uh, and then a couple of things that I would like to highlight for our members before we log off tonight, and I'm going to drop it in the chat as well. We do have some upcoming winter events. And by the way, all these topics, like tonight's event actually for Zotero, were produced by your ideas from the membership. So anything that you hear about, a tool, a strategy, or a community-based, discussion that you want us to put on, GSERA's all ears. So this is the reason why we're making things like by students for students. So in the chat, we have our upcoming events. We also sent out our recent winter newsletter last night to your inboxes for Northeastern. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. It's got packed full of resources, and we also will be happy to share out the Zotero recording as well. And shout out to Jen, like right on time here with all of our resources as well. If you're not tapped in with us on any of our upcoming social media channels here, like definitely subscribe, like, tap in there, and we'll be happy to connect with you there. But until then, everyone, thanks so much for joining us from wherever you're coming from this evening. And Brooke is only an appointment away or an email away if you ever need to reach out.
That's right. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining.
Have a great night and day for
Bye.
everyone. Take care.